Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri, and today we're going to talk about my frustrations here on why LinkedIn is complete garbage here. Well, more specifically, a lot of the people on LinkedIn and why it's misleading, why it's damaging, why I don't follow anyone really on LinkedIn who I would say is a quant. There's got to be a few people, like real, honest people out there. But people that are generating content on LinkedIn, I have found to not be quants making content for quants, which results in bad advice, which will result in bad decisions, which is going to have bad results. I don't even know where to start with this. So let's start with this first one here. I'm going to throw this on the screen here. I saw somebody share this meme, and it's math students. You know, they're like these lazy bums. You know, look how horrible these people are. And then they go through this guide to quantitative finance, and they come out as business people that are well put together, and they make them into quants. Why is this wrong? So I get like people are trying to make a joke out of this, like, oh, ha ha ha, look at this. But this is not helpful and not beneficial, I don't think, in any way here. Now, the first piece one is math people in general intellectually are quite sharp, right? Math is nothing more than logic. You're just putting logic down onto paper here. Now, I am not a professionally trained mathematician. I don't have a math degree in itself. But then to think somehow you're going to take some quantitative finance guide and make them into like these sharp business professionals, and somehow they were lazy before and now they're going to be turned into these, I don't know, sharp business people. I don't know. This really rubbed me the wrong way the last few weeks when I saw this. It's kind of the stigma that goes around of like math people are, I don't know, super nerds, maybe not so clean in dorm rooms. And I'm guessing that you probably have not met very many math PhDs. Just to put it that way here. I think this is also getting peddled too by people that probably think they're more businessy people and that somehow they need to convert people that are math people into business people. It's kind of a weird thing for me to say because I usually go by the moniker of fancy quant from time to time, just implying that I'm a quant who likes to wear suits and put myself forward, dress a little sharper here. This kind of bugged me though. It's just, you guys don't fall into these sorts of stigma things. It does impact hiring. It does impact the way people are viewed here. Now, I'm going to dive into hiring here because this ties into this a little bit. One thing I do find, though, for math PhDs, as well as chemistry PhDs, as well as a lot of STEM PhDs, often you think somehow you have some sort of degree that qualifies you to do something. And so therefore, I applied for this job. So when I post jobs in general, I get many people that are very upset with me, how dare you reject me? I had a PhD from XYZ university here. And the issue with this is often you don't have the full skill set here. Now, it depends on the problem. It depends on the interest. I will note it as well here, as I've mentioned and people have complained about, so it's other advice. When you go to get a PhD, you don't go to get a PhD. You should be going to study under a specific person to learn a specific area that you want to become an expert on and do research in. That is why you go get a PhD. Now, many people are going to say, but Dimitri, I went and got a PhD. I didn't do that. Yes, and I won't hire you for quant finance because I want really excited, highly driven people to do that. That's also why you're probably never going to get tenure track. Because to get tenure track, they want really, really smart people to generate really good, new, cutting edge research. They don't want someone that says, I want a PhD and I'm going to go be a teacher maybe, or maybe I'll do the industry, or I don't really know, but I have a PhD. You don't have specialty. The entire purpose of a PhD is to get expertise and specialty in one area. So that's going to be some kind of grind here with this. You need to learn two other skills here. So for quant finance, right, the programming piece, again, not a business piece. The programming piece is going to be absolutely critical. If you can tell me a bunch of math, and this is from personal experience, I often run into PhDs I've worked with, and they know the theory and they can't code it. And they go, oh, well, some master student undergrad will code this for me. No, we're just not going to hire you because I need someone that can generate ideas, explore the ideas of the data through programming. But of course, you need that expertise in mathematics and statistics and probability theory kind of all nestled together there. You need all that to be able to generate ideas, but you need to be able to program to test that and get kind of all those pieces working together here. Now, I think that, again, it's bad advice for people to go out and say, like, you just need the PhD, or if you have a STEM PhD, you can work in quant finance. No, you need a well-rounded set of skills, and to be able to show those on a resume, so I look at you, I know that you have the full skill set. And you're not going to have an attitude, because a lot of PhDs have that, highfalutin attitude here. Again, a stigma, I guess, in many ways. But when you start to interview a lot of PhDs and you work with them, it's a trend that continues on here. Now, when you find great PhDs who can program and do math and just love quant finance, they're amazing fits. And I don't think you can get anyone else better than that with a good PhD in some sort of mathematics or engineering, but they have to have that deep dive, that understanding, that piece to really thrive in the quant finance space here. Now, the other piece that's been going around, I've been seeing a lot of people, and it continues on here. I'm not going to say which posts these are, who they're from, but I continually see people say, Dimitri, you just need an undergrad. You just need an undergrad, right? If you're just really smart and you had an undergrad, you could be a quant. No, you're not going to be, because you're going to be missing so much critical base information. Now, when I say you're not going to be, that doesn't mean you go get an undergrad and you could go work at a firm. Go for it. But when you think about it from a educational, functional stance, what you can do, you're not going to have the skills and training to do advanced sort of mathematical, statistical, machine learning sorts of modeling. And I'm going to put this into perspective for you. If you're a master's student out there, you're going to get me. PhD student, you're going to get me right here. When you graduate, you look back and you're like, oh, there's this whole list of classes I want to take. I want to take all these classes. I didn't have time to take them. I have a few people I'm working with now, and they're like, Dimitri, I've got this list of classes. I want to take these 6 classes. I only have, a semester to fit in 3 classes or 4 classes. Which classes should I take? And should I take these next semester? And this one's only offered this semester. The reality is, even once you get your undergrad, whether it's even in mathematics or quantitative finance, which is a newer thing, or statistics or whatever, and even when you go to get the master's is supposed to teach it at a mastery level. PhD is supposed to be the mastery level plus the research on top of that, and an advanced level of coursework here. Even when you graduate, those people that are actually interesting, intellectually smart, driven individuals, which is what we look for when we hire, they're wanting all these extra classes. They don't have time. There's not enough time, guys. I'm trying to explain this to you. I'm hoping many of you understand that in grad school, but the ones that are younger in the undergrads, or if you're switching career paths here, right, there's always an infinite number of books to read, topics to cover. Like, I'm reading books that, you can't see it back here. I have a whole stack of books I need to read. I need to get on. I haven't had time. I'm working full time. I have a family. I have a life. So to be ignorant and think somehow you're going to be really smart and be an undergrad and get a really high paying job as a quant, which I'm going to put in air quotes here, it's typically a trader. Traders are not quants. Plain and simple. And then I've seen posts too promoting how, like the Ivy Leagues and, sitting on their high horses in their ivory towers. Go screw yourself. I don't really care. I'm tired of kind of the nonsense that goes on with it too. So what many of you don't know, most really good quants come from really good academic programs. Most really Ivy League programs don't have quant programs, or they're not good quant programs. So you have to really sort between the lines here. But when you look at quant traders, right, the trader people, they're just business people that come from Ivy League schools that their mommies and daddies invested a bunch of money, and they go to these fancy highfalutin schools. There's absolutely no difference. There's no difference in the education in many of the institutions. I would argue that programs that are much better academically ranked, meaning they produce better research, like in, for example, math, are going to outperform most, if not all, of the Ivy League programs here. Now, I could be wrong. There could be a few of them that really highlight. I know some of the schools are stronger in specific areas versus other ones. But right, just because you're Ivy League doesn't mean you're good. And I think that's where we're starting to get into this grind here. It drives me absolutely nuts. Like, I would much rather hire a student from Stony Brook than hire someone from MIT. I'd rather hire someone from, take another good one, perhaps NC State for statistical modeling and the banking side with SAS programming experience than an Ivy League program. Why? Because they have focus and specialty in areas that I'm looking to hire in. Again, they have a higher rigor in some cases. Again, just because you come to an academic school doesn't mean it's going to be helpful. Now, I don't want to get stuck on that too much. The undergrad piece is what's killing people. Why? Because you read these nonsensical posts, and I've seen them from multiple people across LinkedIn, on how you just need to get an undergrad degree and you just need to be smart. And somebody put in a comment too, what if you're like this mathematical, champion, world champion and winner? Then you'd really be raking in a lot of money and be a quant. You don't need the grad degree. Yeah, I have those people apply for my jobs and I reject them. Okay. That's plain and simple. Yes, I had someone recently that had, I think it was like the Putnam or whatever the math competition is. I don't even know and I don't even care. Most of us in the industry don't even care. Again, just because you are good at a competition doesn't mean you're going to be good in practice. Doesn't mean you're cutting edge. Doesn't mean you're PhD and master's material. Okay. So getting the undergrad, again, is a baby step towards being a quant. Getting the master's and PhD is another baby step. There's always a ton of learning to do because I've been doing this for a decade now. I'm still desperately reading more and more textbooks. There's more to learn. There's more opportunities. There's new ways to solve things. There's areas I haven't even covered. Again, going into depth in these sorts of topics, just because you've read a book on it, just because you took it in grad school doesn't mean anything. But again, it's horrible advice because what ends up happening is people go, they get the undergrad degree, and then they go and they strike out. And then they go and they apply and they strike out again. And they message me and say, Dimitri, I got this undergrad. I went to an Ivy League school. I went here or I went there. I couldn't get an offer. It's like, because you got an undergrad. And they go, but I want to do quantitative model development or quantitative research. That's what I really want to do. I don't want to do trading. And I'm like, I know. I get it. You're going to have to go get a graduate degree. And I feel bad too because I have people in third world countries that they don't have the money to come to the US. So that's another piece here. You need to get your graduate degree in the country you want to work in. Why? This is probably the easiest route to actually get there, right? Say you're in, I don't know, China, India, Bangladesh, I don't know, pick some sort of country and you want to come and work in the US quant market here. Well, one, we value the education, the quant education in the US more than everywhere else. I do specifically. I know many people do as well. So you're going to want a degree from our training, our infrastructure, our schools and all that. And then also it gives you that student visa. You can go through and get the student visa to be here. And then afterwards you get kind of a time period here where you get to work. And then you can go into the lottery if you get someone to sponsor you and do that. They give you these opportunities to be here to get the job, to do the work. No one's going to go abroad and say, I'm not going to run out and go, all right, let me hop online and LinkedIn and see how many people I can get from another country and somehow have them remote working. Or me trying to figure out how to work with customs and move them over here. And anyways, and typically the best and the brightest in a lot of these countries end up just coming to the US because they want to be here. They want to get here. Now, if you don't have the funds for it, that's a tough situation to be in. My advice, if you're really dedicated and you really want to be in quant finance, do or die. It's not about the money. It's about the enjoyment of the career in itself. Go get a job. Go work. Make some money. Work some low-end jobs. Because I worked in manufacturing and operations. Did corporate finance and accounting too on the side. I did menial labor, as many of you would consider it, but I enjoy doing it. There's a piece of me that likes doing it. Do it to make money. I had to finance myself. You're going to have to work. You might have to take 5 years off maybe and work, and save a bunch of money. U.S. schools typically give sponsorships or scholarships, these kind of discounts here. So $20,000 a semester might end up being, $5,000 or $10,000 a semester just because you don't have enough money. The U.S. is pretty socialistic in that sort of way here. So there are opportunities to do that here, but an undergrad degree is not enough no matter what you do. There is no online degree either that's going to get you there. I see this consistently with people be like, Dimitri, but which one, would get my foot in the door? Yeah, a really, really good degree from a US school here. That's what's going to get you in the door here. Another point here is I'm going to be ranting and breaking quant myths as we go. The other thing I think is interesting is there is a significant difference between different schools of thought. So one thing I find with people who are analysts and data scientists and data sorts of people here, there are hierarchies and tiers here. And I feel bad saying this, but when you look at the hierarchy, what sets a quant apart, or more specifically, what just makes them different, right? Not even better, but just different, is going to be the amount of mathematics they do here. So it's kind of why that that meme grinds me a little bit the wrong way. The math is what sets you apart. It's understanding and being able to do math, but then understanding the math applied to quantitative finance, applied to machine learning, applied to AI. It's putting all these pieces together here. And interestingly enough, I had a post recently talking about, I think it's very odd when people put on their resumes, built a model or analyzed data with X amount of rows. And I'm scratching my head like 20 million rows. Like, what value does this add? It doesn't add any value. People go, it's big data. I don't know. I don't get it. There are actually some pretty good comments in here. Someone said, it's cringeworthy as well. But they're kind of just saying, they're not just working in Excel because it wouldn't fit in Excel. Pat on the back. I'll give you that one. There's some other comments around it too, but the people that seem to be very sympathetic to this, like, well, this makes sense. You should put it on. The recruiters want it. It means I can do big data. Like, the people that were really eating it up are the data science and analytics community. The quants don't care. We do not care. Why? Because running, a million rows or 100 million rows through some sort of function in Python or SAS or R, yeah, it's going to take longer, but you're probably not going to be optimizing that. Then you'd get into like what's called quant dev. But then again, in the resume, if you're saying you're running 20 million rows and you don't mention anything about the efficiency behind that, right? I don't know why you're putting that. The other piece too is you didn't even put how many columns they are, right? I've worked with data sets with 10 columns. I worked data sets with, 2,000 columns. So 2,000 columns times 20 million rows is significantly larger than, 10 columns with 20 million rows. Anyways, there seems to be a big divergence, and I think many of you are confused on this. If you're wanting to do analytics, business analytics, those sorts of jobs, data science I'm going to put in there because data science is this really screwed up word now, just like quant has become a really screwed up word. If you're wanting to do high-end model development, you're going to need a lot of mathematics. That's what sets you apart because you can do things and solve problems more uniquely, and you really understand the mechanics behind that. Programming, again, is a functional requirement. It's not a big thing. Things that we really don't care about, dashboard building, making things pretty, doing great presentations for the business. And I know people get grinding on like, oh, Dimitri, those are good. There are good skills, right? Learning to present's great. Building dashboards, I know. It's a waste of my time. I hate doing it. I will not do it. I probably will do it if they put make me do it. But people that are wanting to spend more time on the theoretical side, really digging deep, are going to be those on the quant side. People that want to do quick, snappy analytics, cool dashboards, flashy tools, work close with the businesses, you're better on the analytics than the data side. But from this takeaway, I thought it was very interesting that the data science and analytics community was very supportive of the idea that the number of rows matters. If you are applying for a quant job, do not put that on there. It just makes me think, well, you're pretty dumb. And then I keep moving on. Right? You don't add any context. If you're going to put it on there, there's a reason, then make sure you build out the context and explain to me why 20 million matters. From the quant space, though, I work with millions and millions of rows consistently, and I don't care. I don't put that anywhere. It doesn't make a difference here. And that's going to lead me into the final piece here. And this is going to be the very odd, I don't know what to call it. The name calling, the mudslinging in the quant space here. It's been a little bit frustrating for me lately. I've hesitated and not commented as much as possible. But I see that people have started figuring out that, those traditional finance models, probably almost anything you learn as a closed form solution in school is not perfect. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? You guys are idiots. I can't believe people have to say this, but I have to say this. I've seen a lot of these things. People go, oh, well, this model doesn't work, and this is the real world. And I saw a post by someone, again, when you're listening to people rant and rage like me, take me with a grain of salt. But when you see stuff posted online, and rant and rave like me as well, make sure you do your research. Who are these people? Have they worked as a quant, like a real in-depth quant? Have they worked 2-3 years? Maybe a decade? Maybe 30-40 years? Really try to figure out who's giving you this sort of advice here, because I see this nonsensical stuff here. Saw this thing on how utility theory, the CAPM, and the mean variance is all just garbage, Academia is really dumb, but, using good estimates and scientific quant is smart. This is how dumb this is. So this book, I know you can't probably see it. This is Exploring General Equilibrium. This is an economics book, right? And the author is Fisher Black. Yeah, the Fisher Black that actually discovered and worked with Myron Scholes and Robert Merton to put together the Black-Scholes model, which is a closed form solution. And obviously the people that post these things don't understand the difference between closed form solutions and the beauty behind it and the challenge of getting to that point and doing numerical methods here. Neither is better per se, but understanding the closed form solution, how fast it is, how simple it is, how it brings together economic and financial theory. Quantitative finance is nothing more than applying the scientific method to finance. And then I see these stupid things and it's like, just throw it all out the window. You know, finance is dumb. Economics is dumb. None of this makes sense. We're really smart because I went through a textbook that was written for a business person and now I'm a quant. Oh, man. These things just drive me nuts. If you don't know, the Black-Scholes model, which is derivative pricing, the closed form solution, is probably the biggest breakthrough to ever have occurred in economics or finance. Many have argued. I would say economics is probably some other interesting things as well. Finance, definitely probably the biggest breakthrough. But this was derived from Fisher-Black off the CAPM model. Okay, the CAPM model and all these different things they're talking about. Like I saw another complaint about, well, the mean variance market optimization isn't correct. Yeah, I've made that comment before too. It's because of stationarity. Of course, that wasn't even mentioned in the other person's post. It's them ranting and raving about, you know, like, oh, like it's because it assumes normal distribution. No, it doesn't. It does not assume a normal distribution. It's insanity. My point being here, though, is there seems to be a lot of this, like, something's not perfect. And so then people go, oh, this sucks and this is stupid and finance and economics, they're dumb. But we are really smart. And then they'll throw some label like, I'm a quant or I'm a data scientist or you're none of the above. You struggle from the fact that you don't understand the actual material. You don't understand the integrity of this. Every model has an assumption. We all know if you're in quant finance and you ask someone who's a veteran of this, you could ask them like, is there a model that is consistently correct that doesn't need refitting? The answer is no, right? Modeling quantitative finance is hard because it's not a science. It's 50% art teamed up with the scientific method, but it's 50% art. People change. People are dynamic. They're hard to predict. They are non-stationary. Most people are non-stationary. The world is complex. So when you build a closed form solution that's dependent on the CAPM or the mean variance or utility theory or something like that, it has assumptions. That's why they list the assumptions into that. So you understand under perfect conditions, there is a simple conclusion that has a theory, that the theory backs why the equation is correct. Unfortunately, there's too many people out there bashing on academia or bashing on, econometrics or bashing on other fields. I won't mention someone else, but all of econometrics is dumb and bad, but machine learning, we're really smart and good. You stole everything from the stats, math, econometrics communities. And I was talking to somebody, Wall Street veteran, recently saying, it was like statistics and then it was, econometrics and then it got relabeled into machine learning and now it's getting relabeled into AI. Again, understanding the theories, understanding the trends, understanding really just the fundamental mathematics behind what you're doing, as I've kind of hit on multiple times in this video, is critical to understand what you're doing. Understanding your assumptions is good as well. So I'll give a shout out here to University of Michigan's program, the failed program that they closed, and I wasn't a big fan of when I was part of it. But it started off teaching the Black-Scholes, right? This simple equation, and they showed you the equation, and they go, this equation is dumb. It has all these unrealistic expectations. And then you took these classes and you worked your way around doing numerical methods, trying to solve these things, and to realize it gets very complex and it's not a nice, pretty equation. There's no way to get to the exact answer. And you go this full circle of doing all this struggle and, volatilities aren't consistent and flat. So you have volatility smiles and all that. Rates move and there's all these parts that just don't fit the Black-Scholes framework. And then you come all the way full circle back to the Black-Scholes and you realize it's really simple. It's this really nice, pretty equation. You can put it into Excel if you want. But it's absolutely beautiful and amazing because it explicitly states the assumptions, the failures, the weaknesses of the model. However, it is much simpler theoretically, and often it works better than trying to come up with some very, very complex alternative solution here. So Anyways, my takeaway from this ranting videos here is one, I am just mad and frustrated with the LinkedIn community because there's just so much nonsense out there. The second point I like to make with this is be careful who you take advice from. I have seen many people saying you don't need degrees, you don't need this, you don't need that, right? There are all these easy to learn solutions and help and yada, yada, yada. This results in really bad decision making. People spend money on maybe an undergrad degree at a really good school, maybe in another country like the US, and then realize they still have to pay now for a master's after that. It's often much smarter to get your undergrad in your home country and then come here for a master's or a PhD. Other pieces too is, try to understand what's going on with your modeling and stuff. I try to put my head down as much as possible. So take this advice from me. I hate doing ranting videos, but I hope you guys can relate to this. It's often better just not to say anything, put your head down and go along your day. But it is frustrating to see people misleading, other people outside of our industry, misleading people within the industry, misleading people that are wanting to join the industry here. The name calling and the mudslinging, I know. I'm not the biggest fan of data science and machine learning, as many of you picked up on. I don't think the methods are wrong, though. I just think that there are a lot of people in both quantitative finance and data science, machine learning, analytics, the whole shebang here, that just don't apply these very well. But I don't say that machine learning is dumb and bad and the whole thing's screwed up and we don't like all these people, or, academia doesn't know what they're doing. I find this very interesting as well because quant finance isn't really an academic pursuit for most. But anyways, yeah, so those are some of my takeaways with this. And this is me just kind of venting out for you guys. But I'm hoping you guys can kind of see these kind of issues and understand them a little bit better. Don't jump for the clickbait and like it and really support these sorts of movements, because often you're going to end up down the road 5 years, 10 years perhaps, and realize you made some bad decisions because you got a lot of bad advice on Reddit or in LinkedIn or some other sort of source, maybe YouTube, maybe listening to me, maybe I'm the crazy one. But anyways, those are my tips. That is my venting and my ranting on the myths in quant finance. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.